Thank you for coming back. I found that if my videos last more than 5 minutes, I don't know if it happens to anybody else, it becomes almost impossible to load to IG. It takes almost a whole day and it's not worth it. So that's why I cut that video short. But thank you for joining me for part two. Um, I'm going to pick up the pace now, and I hope I won't start talking too fast, but I start tripping over myself or starting to lisp in a pronounced way. Okay, so thank you for coming for part two. In the interview scenario that I discussed earlier, so we started from the public place. Your CV is there, and then you tell them, rehearse what is on your CV. However, they start to ask you questions that are targeted at delving into things that you have not revealed on the CV. And at that point, you have to go to a place of self disclosure. It's that hidden place that I call the place of vulnerability, because for most people, these are things that you have possibly not rehearsed. If you're not a professional interview taker, the things that probably you have not rehearsed, and so you did not have an idea the questions were coming, and so you had to dig deep into an inner place, into the hidden place, to bring out the answers for that. And it's so that's through the process of self discovery. If you're lucky at the end of the interview, especially if you did not get the job, it is useful to have feedback. It is useful because that is when they get to tell you things that you were not aware that was happening in the background. And it's that feedback, if it's constructive, you can take it to make a change so that subsequently, when that sort of situation arises, you have the skills, you know what to say, as it were. Yeah. So if you take this and if you take this principle into real life, into our relationships, into work relationships, there's a way that we think that we are, and there's some things that are obvious to other people. Your colleagues will be able to say, "Well, she's this tall. This is sort of colors that she likes to wear. These are the things that excite her. These are things that maybe cheese her off. Things that are in the open space. Everybody knows that about you." It can even be something as insidious as perfume. You walk in a room and people know it's you because they know it's your favorite perfume. So things that like that are in the open space. But I bet you that there's some things that your colleagues, even your family members, know absolutely nothing about. Not because some of the things, it's because you can't tell them, because if you tell them, it will damage how they see you in a way. So maybe it's something that you are not proud of. It might also be something that you just want to keep to yourself because you want to be perceived in a particular way. Like, for instance, I will turn up at an event and people will say, "Well, Abiola, what do you do?" And I'll say, "I'm a full-time housewife," which is really just the tip of the iceberg of who I am. But at that point in time, I've decided, you know what? I want to be under the radar. I don't want to be, I don't want the attention. And so I keep that part of myself away from everybody else. Also, there's some things that people see about us that they, depending on the kind of person you are, they may or may not be free to give you some feedback. I use a funny example usually of being at a party, so you're busy enjoying the canapes and everything, and then you get something stuck in your teeth. Depending on the kind of person you are, if, for instance, you've been thinking that you are gregarious and everybody likes you, but to everybody else you've been annoying and loud, it's possible that they will just let you have whatever it is that's stuck in your teeth and everybody will be laughing at you secretly. However, if you have a trusted person, maybe somebody who's your friend or your spouse or whatever, if they're there, they will quickly be able to give you feedback, give you a sign, and then you can make that correction. So there are areas of ourselves that, there's a way that you might see yourself that other people around you do not have the same impression. And that is when you something happens, maybe there's a friction, and then they say something and you're like, really? I thought I wouldn't have believed that. But without having access to feedback, would never really see those parts of ourselves. So if we are if we're people, whatever, is that even good English? So if I'm the kind of person that I'm open to feedback, constructive feedback, again, because Niger, I think people can just give you any kind of feedback. If I'm the sort of person that I'm open to constructive feedback, people will be able to tell me more things that I don't see. that will help me. So no matter some things that, like, sometimes people gravitate towards you and they always ask you for the same thing, and I wonder, why do people keep asking me to do this thing? It's because they see something. They see that potential in you, they see that ability in you, they see the skill, and so they just naturally gravitate towards you and ask you to do it, and you get it done without even thinking about it. But when you are able to then sit and think, why does this happen? You receive feedback that puts you in the know of what they know. And then that sort of opens up more of what you are aware of about yourself. Also, when you get to the point where maybe you have a skill, but because you don't want to take responsibility, or like you don't want people to see you or know you in a particular way, you keep it to yourself. When you get to a point where you start to raise up your hand and say, hey, I can actually do this. Hey, I have this degree. Hey, I've done this before. Hey, I have an idea. When you start to sort of disclose more about yourself carefully, and things that you can disclose, you find also it increases the what people know about you that they didn't know before. And because they now know this about you, you are able to receive more responsibility in that area, so that the area of your potential, of what you can do, what other people know about you that now you know, and what people don't know about you that now they know, and so they're able to open opportunities to you. So that's, you see how that begins sort of grow what is available to you, the pool of potential things that begin to open up to you, to the point that with these interactions, you then find that you are going into areas that were completely unknown to you, areas that will surprise you, that hey, I didn't realize that this was there. This can be good or bad. It can be that you get to a point where some things start to scratch at things that are in your subconscious, and you find that you have a bias about something, maybe a fear that has kept you back. And then in the process, you find that fear was unfounded, and all of a sudden you find liberty. And so something that is in the unknown area bursts forth, and you start to shine in that area, and you start to ask yourself, what took me so long? But this is only possible with this sort of interworking of feedback, of self-disclosure. The word I'm looking for here is trust. So, being able to conscientiously build trusting relationships, whether it's with your close family, friends, colleagues at work, and being the sort of person that is able to freely ask people, what do you think about me? And be ready to receive the feedback constructively. And be ready to think about it if it comes up more than 3, because sometimes somebody will say something about you, people have opinions. But if 10 people say the same thing, then you might think, okay, maybe it's something I need to work on. And so you start to then take those things, those important things, those things that come up often, and even ask yourself, do I really, really want to work on this, especially if it's negative? And if it's positive, do I really want to take advantage of this opportunity to do something more with it? What I've just described to you in, I don't even know what to use in technical terms, is the trust model that's given to us by something called the Johari window. It's something a tool that was developed in 1955 by 2 scientists. And the Johari is actually a joining of their name, Joe and Harry, Johari window. And this is what I've explained to you. Now, if you want to go through this exercise, I have a list of 30 positive adjectives that you can use to describe yourself, that you how this can work for you. You go through and choose 8, or the ones that really, really resonate with you. And then you take the list, not just the 8, you take the list and share it amongst people, share it amongst your colleague, and if you can have them do it anonymously, let them circle 8 of what they think applies to you. Yeah. Or if you don't want to go with this, you can go with free, you can go freestyle, write your own 8, and then tell people, just ask them, what do you think about me? What 8 words would you use to describe me? And see if there are areas that match how you see yourself, See if there are areas where it keeps coming up, but it's not part of how you see yourself. You get what I'm talking about? And this sort of starts to open up your mind to things that you may need to change, or areas of potential that you can explore. So if you want to know any more about this, let me know if it's worth putting a proper course together. That's something that I can do. But I hope that this has been helpful. If you have any questions, like I said, you can put them in the comments below. I will answer, or DM me. That's fine. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to your feedback. So please comment and let me know how this has helped you. And that's it. God bless. Peace.